Well, good everybody. It's the 28th of September, and we're running a couple of minutes late because we just had a bit of excitement here, and I'll try and explain that. There's a news update. No, certainly no dramas, but what happened was there was a false alarm on a PLB, which a sailor might be wearing on board their boat. If they fall over, the idea is that certainly, first of all, the PAB, which is an AIS personal beacon, will activate as soon as the life jacket inflates. Okay, and that AIS beacon will then report back to the boat that the person fell off of, and everyone on board can then start the process of trying to recover that man overboard if he became disconnected, okay, from the boat. So the AIS beacon may come off even if they fall over and they're still on their line. The water will hit the jacket, it'll inflate, and the PAB goes off. The next level is that everyone on board in their life jacket actually has a personal locator beacon, which is a 406 transmitting smaller version of an EPIRB, a distress beacon. So the PLB, once that goes off, goes to a satellite, bounces back to a local user terminal on Earth, and that then goes to, in this case, Grisnez in France, because the PLB was registered in France. And we immediately then get a call from Grisnez notifying us that there has been an activation, because we're the first point of contact registered to that PLB, which is exactly what happened about an hour ago, I think it was, or a little bit less than that. We got the call that there was a PLB activation from a French boat, and that Grisnez had tried to contact the yacht on the satellite phone number. They have a safety book from us with all the details of all the entrants, their satellite communications and so on, but there was no answer from on board. And they then immediately contacted us and told us the situation. We then go into a very simple process. We declare our own in-house code red, start logging everything, and the first thing we do is send a message to the boat. Knowing that they hadn't answered their phone, we sent a message, first of all, by sat phone, and then we were increasing the rate of the live tracker from 4 hours to 15 minutes, so we can track the position of the boat. If the individual overboard had been moving to another spot, that position can be tracked by the PLB. Then we were to send a message on the YB3 and get that away. At that stage, we'd done that, and probably within about, we were doing a few other things as well. Within about, probably wouldn't have been 15 minutes, Neptune, which was the vessel associated, rang OGR and told us that there had been a false activation of a PLB on board. Now, at this stage, it's literally just finished now. We're wrapping it up. We will be talking to Neptune in about half an hour and find out, what caused the activation. That's the first thing we want to know. How it was activated and why. And also then why they didn't receive the satellite phone call, because the satellite phones are meant to be on 24 hours a day, and I'm sure it was, but there will be some simple reason they didn't take the call from Grisnez at the time. And then we'll see if we can learn anything from that and try and make sure it doesn't happen again. But the good news is it was a complete false alarm, and no one at this stage, it wasn't an active alarm. That's all we know. We don't know what caused it, but we'll find out. We'll let you know. But certainly we were happy to hear that, and situation back to normal. So that's all I can really say on that one. And we'll now carry on. Everything else on the fleet sounds fine. When it happens, you immediately think, here, oh boy, never a dull moment in the office. But we're very happy to see that there was no one so just excuse me for a sec. I'll just get this happening. Hello. Okay, sorry about that. That was hotline one. Jane's not here at the moment, and so I just passed over to Georgie and so on. So we'll see what's going on there. Anyway, okay, that's enough of that. We better get into the tracker so we can get everything happening and tell you what's going on. There's some pretty cool yacht racing going on at the moment, which you may have actually noticed in a few different spots. Anyway, for now, Godspeed is still making good time straight through the Canaries and doing 7.4 knots, 172 nautical miles in a day. They got their, flat out trying to catch up to the rest of the guys and girls. So they'll be happy with that. And if we just push through their weather for 24 hours later, they'll be through that. They'll be down here at that stage. So they'll still hold the breeze for the next day. And then again, the second day, pretty much holding the same. So no risk of them running into a calm. Okay, so they're making good time, and hopefully they'll pull away from the coast a bit. So then it gets interesting with the mid-fleet straight away. If we push this up a bit, both Explorer and Avrika are heading straight into the start of the Doldrums, remembering that it goes across on an angle here, heading down. And fortunately, they both turned. So Explorer's currently doing 5.3, did 139 miles in the day. They'll be quite happy with that. They've been sitting on the hammer of Avrika. Avrika did 104 nautical miles in the day, and they're both heading across. Whether they both received weather or whatever, it's a good move because they're holding the breeze. There's not much south of them. So they're happy to see that. And then Sterner, 6.1 knots. Sterner's doing well to keep up with Avrika and Explorer. Still doing quite well, 153 miles in the last 24 hours. Very happy with that. And White Shadow, I would say, and in fact, I think I can confidently say she's holding a commanding position out to the west, doing 8.6 knots straight away. So really looking good, 167 nautical miles in the day, and making the most of that stronger breeze there. There's a lot more pressure there, pushing them down. So, and the weather for, I'll pull Galliana in on it. Well, okay, we'll, no, I'm just going to concentrate on these guys here first, just to see what they're looking like. So if I push that through to about 24 hours from now, there it is there. Pretty much the same thing, but just going lighter. So they're going to sail out of that trade wind band and into the first parts of the Doldrums. And you can see, they'll hold that relatively speed. So if Avrika's doing 4.9, I'd say they're just going to hold that amount of wind all the way through. And if she holds that course, she'll just keep coming over, and hopefully Explorer will too, which is the same. Now, White Shadow, they're going to hold a stronger breeze, so they'll probably get down to this point quicker. They'll probably be maintaining. They won't be doing 8.6 knots all day, but I think they'll probably still be doing 7 knots by tomorrow by the time they get down here. And the distance of that before they start running out is about 140 miles. Yes, so they'll do okay for the next 24 hours, I reckon. And then after that, they'll be in the depths of it extends down a bit. So, okay, if Avrika and Explorer could be still sailing down on this gradient the second day, and White Shadow, I think, will be parked down here or going slow and battling through the Doldrums. So if Explorer and Neptune and even Sterner, if they continue on with that, they're going to, cutting across here, they're going to be a bit better than if they just headed down. Although having said that, there's a breeze here as well. Anyway, we'll come back to today's breeze and look at Outlaw. Outlaw's been running down a band of wind, so they've got 4.4 knots and still moving okay. It'd be interesting decisions now for them to decide where they're going to do, because there's sometimes, if I come back and show you this, it may force them into, sticking to the coast and coming down here, and then even that may affect the decisions they make about going right the way through the middle of the high and down. I've got no idea, but they're certainly going to have to battle if they come across here. And traditionally, normally you'd do that. Depends on what's going to happen in this area, of course, but let's wait and see. So they've still got breeze and they're moving at the moment. So Galliana, 6.3 knots, holding a band of wind there, which looks quite respectable. I didn't want to go up that far. I only meant to be 1. Okay. Still quite a nice breeze there. So 6.3, 138 nautical miles in the day. That's okay. Triana still hooking the breeze every time I look and doing 6.6, making good time. Picked the slant really well coming down here to this point, but I'm assuming they're going to slow up shortly. They've taken out a huge amount of time on Neptune, who is absolutely slowing down in the conditions. 4.2 knots, 149 nautical miles. So compare that to Triana. She's done 164 again, doing 6.6, so doing particularly well. And then we come into the Spirit Equip, basically parked, 1.4. It's showing the trades, the southeasterly trades coming up north, but it hasn't quite affected them yet. They've been sitting there for a while, not making big progress, only done 60 nautical miles in the last 24 hours. And Maiden and Translated still battling it out. They're parked right alongside each other. They'd be looking at each other, talking on the radio. Let's build it up and see exactly how close they are. They're very close. Look at that. Okay, I'll go up real big, and then we can show you how close it is. This is just such good fun to see. They're less than a mile apart. Let's see. It's hard to see where the dots are. Yeah, they're about a mile apart, and so they're absolutely looking at each other. It's a wonder they don't come over and share lunch or something. I'm not sure. Anyway, so that's a lot of fun for them. A hell of a lot of fun. And they're both sailing particularly well, considering the position they're in the middle of the Doldrums. Spirit of Helsinki parked 1.6 knots, 100, but they did move. Well, they've done 115 miles in the last 24 hours, so that's encouraging. So this could be a localized one, because all of these boats now, you've got the Spirit Equip, all the Spirit Equip Translated, Maiden, and Spirit of Helsinki. They're going to have a great race. They've got to go through the trades in a minute when they finally reach them, but it's still going to be quite fun for them. And of course, Marie on Penduic, he's taken off. They're out of it now completely, so they're making a big jump. And that's actually why if we look at the rankings now, that the reason that he is right up there, first in line on us, that's obvious. They're in front. First in IRC, that's pretty obvious now as well, because they've got to jump on the rest of the fleet, because of the weather. And it's a big, powerful boat, and they're sailing it very hard. So it's a combination of things. I'm not going to say it's just the weather. They're obviously working hard on the boat, and they're first in flyer class. And that gap will continue to build until these guys here get through into this stronger pressure from the southeasterly trades, and they're not far away. We could say with a few things happening. We'll look at the weather we'll look at the weather in a minute and see how it's happening. Hang on, here we go. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, they're only they're 120 miles away. That's all they've got to get to the gradient. If this is graphic here, the colours we're seeing are correct, and they may not be. So there's still a fair few variables there. But if we start bringing the weather forward, let's look at what happens here. This is clicking through every hour. You can see it's getting quieter up the top, but the gradient of the trades is steady, and now it looks like it's just starting to move a little bit north, getting around midnight tonight. Yeah, so the wind is coming to Spirit of Helsinki, plus Translated and Maiden, and then the Spirit Equip, if this is correct. And it may be, because it looks very distinct. That looks very solid there. So I think by early hours of tomorrow morning, they'll all be underway again, and they'll all be hooking their course towards the coast. Now, the interesting thing here is you can see they're called the southeasterly trades, and it's southeast, but as it gets to the top there, it hooks around and becomes a southerly, which makes it hard. And you saw how Penduic had to tack out, but as they get further down, the wind comes from the southeast, and even then get further down, it starts to come east of southeast. All right. And so their course, you'll see Penduic come down here, holding it high, and then slowly their course will come across, and they'll actually be, picking the best sailing direction, whether they want to close reach or take it on the beam or even hold higher than that. They'll make those decisions on whether if they get a weather report and shows where the high is. And by that, the weather is generated by everything that's happening down here. I'll go a bit slower. Bit smaller rather. This is basically the South Atlantic high. It's distorted at the moment. It's quite squashed across, and that's what generates the southeasterly trades on the top of the high. So whatever this is doing, you'll see determines the weather up at the bottom of the Doldrums. And I'll just try and show you a big jump. You can see it's starting to form up. It's distorted because of this low pressure system here behind it, below it, which is really strong, and that's squashed up the high. So, and I'll keep going, and you might see something that's going to happen here. No, it's all a little bit confused. So at the moment, it's all the domination of the weather in the South Atlantic is from the intense the intense low pressure systems, and then this dominant high here, which is probably going to move up there and start to take the lead on developing the weather and the trades. That looks like a big one. So yeah, here it comes now. So you can see there, this is a classic South Atlantic high. It's formed in between some lows, and it's going to start to continue in this sort of direction here. And then what you'll see is it'll start to, usually the center of the low goes right across the bottom of Cape Town, and that's what causes the next lot of challenges. So as we move across here, this is a long way out. This is on the 5th. This is a week away, and there's the South Atlantic high. And usually when you come down here, you've got to try and hook underneath that to get these following winds and then come back up to Cape Town. But as you're doing that, the center is moving across, and this is the big challenge. Everything, you can win or lose this part of the course, depending on whether you've got the information and exactly where the center of the high is. Because if you turn too quick, you're going to go either above it and get headwinds, or you're going to come across and you're going to park in the middle of it. But if you get underneath here, you can try and get in to Cape Town before that center moves across, because you can see it's heading across there. So even as you're closing, the center can come over and stop you. So you'll see that happen in the next week or so as they come down. But for now, there's going to be some challenges ahead, because the high is not well developed. So therefore you can see the southeast trade starting to break up a bit, going a bit light. And we come forward a day. It's okay up by Penjuic. We come forward another bit. Still sort of okay, but it's softening off, and they'll be down here again there, and got to try and work out how they get through this lot. So still some fun ahead, but meanwhile, the big challenges are all about the Doldrums and getting the rest of the fleet through it, and it's all looking very exciting. Some great boat racing going on there. So that's it for me. I'm glad it was a false alarm on Neptune, and we'll let you know what caused that later on, but everything's fine for now. So we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye-bye.